The agency owners that I know that are making the most money are really good at building daily, weekly, and monthly schedules. And that's no accident. Really, what business is a question of resource allocation. It's what do you do and in what quantity. On a principal level, that's it. So, really, if you show me your calendar, I can show you your future. So, in this video, I'm going to walk you through the exact daily, weekly, and monthly kind of like schedule, rhythm, routine that I've used to scale my six-figure content agency. I'm going to show you what things should be in your schedule, and I'm going to show you how to always be able to follow your schedule. Because it's one thing to have a schedule, it's another thing to be able to stick to a schedule and a routine. Most people do this completely wrong, and because of that, they can't scale their business just because they don't know what's worth spending their time on. So in this video, I'll break that down. I'm going to screen share my calendar. I'll show you the insight, and I'll help you build a weekly schedule that'll actually help you scale. Okay, so before I even show you my actual calendar, I want to break down why you might struggle to stick to a schedule. Because again, it's one thing for you to have a great schedule and know this is exactly what I need to do to grow my business. It's another thing for you to actually be able to follow through. And information without execution is entertainment. So I want to make sure that this is super tactical, applicable to you in your situation right now. What I find is that most people, they build these kind of like universal schedules around their idealistic selves rather than realistic schedules for the season. So what they do when they sit down to build a schedule is they say, what would the best version of myself do? Well, they would wake up at 5 a.m., they'd go on a really nice long run, they'd work for 12 hours straight, and then they'd sleep. Maybe that's your idealistic version of yourself. The issue is, you might be able to do that for a day, or 2 days, or a week, but inevitably something's going to come up. Last week, for example, my flight was delayed. I got home at 3 a.m. So getting up early in the morning for that day, unrealistic. And I could try to discipline my way through that, but more realistically, what's going to happen is that's such an intensive schedule that when I have a season where I need to take a little bit more rest or I need to work harder or like any season that doesn't fit my perfect mold of myself breaks the schedule, and then I don't stick to my schedule and I say, forget it. And then I stop using a schedule altogether. I don't know if you've experienced this, but most people, they struggle because they try to build a schedule around their idealistic selves rather than what does the schedule or what does the season call for. I don't think there's a such thing as a lazy person. There's no lazy people. There's just bad planners. So when my clients who I'm helping scale their agencies, when they come to me and they say, hey, I'm struggling to do the things I need to do, I don't think of them as lazy. I think of them as like, oh, you just don't have a schedule that's working for you yet. You just don't know how to build daily, weekly, monthly routines that work for you yet. So it's something I think a lot about, by the way. I spend good time every single day deeply planning this. All the best entrepreneurs that I know spend, at minimum 15 minutes a day. At most, maybe upwards of 45 minutes to an hour a day, just planning and thinking and organizing their time. That's how important this is. I try to build a schedule for the season, and the way I do this is I do this every night before sleeping. I'll actually make a specific schedule for the next day. That schedule is going to be tailored for the day, for the season, and what it calls for. There's no universal anything on my schedule. There are building blocks of a good schedule. I'm always going to have to eat, sleep, usually going to do some deep work. Those are going to be on most of my day's schedules. So they're going to be repeating tasks on the calendar. I'm going to show you how that looks in a minute. But there's no universal anything when it comes to building good schedules. And you need to understand this if you actually want to be able to stick to your schedule and execute on the tasks that I'm going to show you will actually help you grow your business. Now, you also need to understand what kind of work or what kind of things should go on the calendar. There's really 3 types of tasks that can go on the calendar. The first is reactive work. The second is proactive work. The third is reflective work. Reactive work is things that don't necessarily grow the business but need to get done. This is, for example, messaging with clients, messaging with team, any sort of like busy work feeling. Proactive work is the deep work. It's doing things that advance the company. This is you building out new marketing campaigns to yourself. This is you building out new offers. Like anything that's actual true deep work that helps you grow the business is proactive work. And then there's reflective work, which is like planning, strategizing, sitting down, building schedules. There needs to be all 3 of these things on your calendar in a day for you to have a good day. Now I'm going to show you the components of a schedule, the things that are on my calendar pretty much every single day now. And then I'll show you how I actually plot this out and what my daily rhythms and routine look like in just a little bit. There's a couple core activities that need to be on my calendar every single day. And what I do on my Google Calendar, which is what I use for scheduling, is I just make these repeat every single day. The first is a morning routine. And what I'd recommend is don't just put these things on your calendar, put in the description on your Google Calendar exactly what's going to get done. It's not enough just to say morning routine. It needs to be brush teeth, put on sunscreen, write down my big goal, write down the 3 action items I need to do today. It needs to be specific. because if you get to your morning routine and you're not totally clear on what needs to be done there, the chances of you doing it are near zero. Same thing if evening routine. I'm going to have that on my calendar pretty much every single day, 10-minute block at the end of my day, obviously. Then I want to make sure I plan my meals. So what I'll do is I always want to eat afternoon, so I have the whole morning uninterrupted just to work, no breakfast, just fasting until noon at least. And one thing that I found has really helped me is I'll actually put on my calendar what I'm going to eat. Because if I wait and I make a reactive decision when I'm hungry, I tend to make poor choices. So instead, I actually want to plan out what am I going to eat, when am I going to eat it. Sleep. This is another thing. It needs to be on your calendar. I sleep every single day. Sleep is the one thing that needs to be the most consistent on the calendar. So there are going to be days where I work at different times, or I eat at different times, or I do different things at different times. Sleep needs to be pretty much the same time, the same place every single day. Deep work blocks. Every single day, you're usually going to spend 1 to 2 hours per day doing proactive deep work. And if you're not already doing proactive deep work every single day, it's one of the biggest hacks to grow your business. It's actually plan intentional time where it's uninterrupted growth activities. This isn't doing client work. This isn't talking to people. This is just alone 1 to 2 hours per day figuring out how do I grow the business. If you don't have that as a habit already, that will change your life. That will change your business. Then I have what I call walk and talk blocks. So in my current work, I have a lot of reactive work, a lot of messaging team, messaging clients. So what I figured out works really well for me is in the morning and the evening, I'll just go on a walk and I'll send voice notes. That way I can get my steps in, but also handle my reactive work. And I'll actually begin my day personally with reactive work. That way I have the entire rest of the day where I don't feel guilty for not checking Slack. People aren't waiting on responses. I answer everything as soon as I get up and last thing before I go to bed. Shower. Usually want to have some sort of hygiene block in here. These are the core activities, the core components of a good day. Again, I'll put this on my calendar here and I'll show you an actual example of this in a minute. I also want to review these semi-regular events. So these are things that maybe don't get done every day, but need to be done often, at least weekly or maybe monthly. First one for me, church. If it's a Sunday, there's church on the calendar. Theory of constraints. I do this the first Monday of every single month where I sit down with myself, with my team, we look at the business and we figure out what's the one thing that if we could just solve for this would have the biggest impact in making progress in the business. That's our reflective block, like we talked about earlier. Monday acquisition call with all of my consulting clients. I sit down every Monday with them and I help them figure out what do they need to do to get more clients. So we review sales calls, we review their proposals, we review their marketing material, etc. Thursday, I do seminar calls with my clients where we sit down and we just do trainings. So if it's a Thursday, obviously that needs to be on the calendar. Agency team syncs. Once a week, I sit down with my team. We do an internal meeting for an hour where we just run through client accounts. I ask them, what can I do to better support you? And I'm just clear on everything. One-on-one calls and sales calls. So I only take calls on Mondays and Thursdays, which means I have the other 4 or 5 days a week uninterrupted to just do whatever I need to do to actually grow the business. Calls are reactive work, and I don't want to do those every single day. And when I do take calls, I don't take them until noon or later. Content co-working blocks. So content is one of the biggest things that I can do to grow my business. I'm going to have content blocks scheduled on my calendar where I sit down and I make videos. It needs to be scheduled on the calendar. Co-working is actually with a member of my team because if I don't have someone to hold me accountable, these videos simply won't get out. Something will always come up more reactive, more urgent, more important. That's a huge hack, by the way. If there's things that you want to do but you struggle to do it on a call with someone else. Make it a meeting on your calendar because you're not going to leave someone hanging. But if it's just a task that, hey, I'd like to do it at this time, the chances of you doing it, way less. Profit and loss statement. This is like accounting. This needs to be scheduled early in the month, within the first 3 to 5 days. Sometimes we have months that start on a weekend where I'm not going to be working, but I want to be doing this on a monthly routine every single month. Now I'm actually going to go ahead, I'm going to show you my calendar. I'm going to screen share a brand new calendar and I'll show you exactly how I design my daily schedule if I wanted to scale. And keep in mind, you'll have to adapt this to you. So I'm going to keep this on a very principle level. I'm going to show you what kind of things generally need to be on there, in what quantity, and in what order. And I'll show you how I'd build a schedule if I wanted to scale my content marketing agency. All right, so I just opened up a brand new Google Calendar. If you're new to doing this, first off, welcome to the real world. This is awesome. This is something that, if my clients don't have calendars, this is one of the first things we get them on. Google Calendar is the best one. It's free, super easy to use. All you need is a Gmail account. You probably already have one of these. You just haven't used it. The first thing we want to do on our calendar is we want to plot out what are those core components that we need to do every single day. So the first one is sleep, like we talked about. So super easy. All we're gonna do is just plot it out here. This is gonna be a bit slower, but this is worth watching so you can see how this actually builds out. Sleep, usually I like to make this a dark color just that way it's not distracting from anything else. And then all you need to do is go down here and you can make these things repeat. So I need to sleep every single day, schedule it in for 8 hours. The second thing that we want to do is schedule in our meals. I usually like to do like just one meal a day. So I'm going to put this in here, one meal a day, and I'll actually plan out Chipotle triple chicken cups. This is actually what I'm eating today. And this is actually when I'm eating it too. And then I'm just going to make this a repeating event. Obviously what you do for the next day, I don't eat this every single day, but the next day when you sit down in the evening to plan out your calendar, you come in here and you just edit it and you change it to what you're going to eat, when you're going to eat it, etc. So you'll have all of the building blocks of a good day on here for the next day, for Thursday in this example. All I'll do is I'll just move this around to make it fit my schedule. Next thing I want to do is have that morning routine. So just pop on here, morning routine. And then what you can do is, again, be very specific. So go in here, add description. I want to make sure I brush my teeth. I want to make sure I put on sunscreen. I want to make sure I write my big goal down, plus my 3 HLA, my highest leverage actions. And then I'll make this repeat. Just like to make this purple. And this, again, only needs to be 10 minutes. Don't need to spend an hour brushing my teeth. Great. All right, so that's there. It's also repeating. Well, oftentimes just do is I'll just come in here and I will duplicate this. So there's a way for you to come in here, duplicate up here, save, and then we'll make this our evening routine because it's the same amount of time. So I'll just come down here, all events. Great. What I'd recommend doing is just plot out what kind of things you're going to do every single day. So if you're working a job or you've got something that happens every single week, just put it on here. Evening routine. Great. All events. Another thing you want to do is you want to make sure you have at least 2 hours a day, 1 to 2 hours per day of deep work. This is uninterrupted time, no phones, no messaging clients, no doing client work. This is just business growth work. Let's call this deep work. And make this repeat. That way, when I make my schedule for tomorrow, I already have all the things, and again, it's just organizing it. I don't have to make a decision every single day about what kind of things I want to put on the calendar. They're already there. My decision is, do I need to do a 1 hour deep work block or a 3 hour deep work block? Do I want to start my deep work at 9 a.m. or do I want to start it at 10? Whatever it is, right? Make this repeat daily. Cool. Another thing I do is I only take calls on Monday and Thursday, and I do this so I can eliminate reactive work. So I'm actually just going to come on here and I'm going to block off everything from 1 to 5 for calls. This can be sales calls, this can be one-on-ones, this can be anything. With sales calls, we never want to book those for longer than like 72 hours out, which is why I do Monday and Thursday, because there's always going to be at furthest, 72-hour slot that far out. So this is going to be blocked off. Repeats weekly on Monday. Great. And we'll do the same thing. We'll come over here, duplicate that, move this to Thursday, weekly. And that's 8 hours in this example of calls per week. If you're scaling and you're doing more than like 8 hours, 10 hours of calls per week, you've probably got a very reactive model. Maybe you need to have a client education process, or maybe you need to hire someone to help with that. Something is wrong if you're taking more calls than this. So this is more than enough. I know some people are looking at this thinking, how can I make that work? It's a very easy thing to do. And really the way I sell it to clients is my time is best spent growing the business, understanding strategy. So these are the slots that I have for calls. If you want to book one, great, you can book it in here, but that's just where it goes. And then other things, like if you go to the gym every day, you want to plot that out on here. Let's see, what else am I missing? So we've got sleep, we've got deep work, we've got calls, we've got food. One of the cool things about this activity is when you do this, you'll realize just how much time you have in a week. Because I build this out, I can see there's really so much time on here. Every single Sunday, this might be where you dedicate an hour to weekly planning. Just come in here and make this repeat weekly on Sunday. Once a month, you want to do a profit and loss statement. So what I'll do is I'll just come on here. I know actually one more thing I can put on here. And again, if accounting isn't something you're already in the habit of doing, the best thing you could do to actually make sure you hold a schedule is to book a call with someone else to do that thing. I do this with my team. I do this with my clients because we all need that accountability. If it's just on the calendar as a task, chances are it won't get done. So I might, if you were trying to build this out, you might schedule a weekly P&L meeting, or not a weekly, a monthly P&L meeting. The first, you can do monthly on the first Wednesday, just as an example. Another cool task that I use the calendar for is if you click up here, you can make a all-day event, which is a really nice placeholder for a to-do list. So I'll actually make this a recurring to-do list. Make this repeat daily, and I just make this red, or make this orange. And then all I do is I click into this, and I can write in my to-do list right here. So I might have send 2 Upwork proposals, send client check-in messages, pay team, whatever it is, right? And then I can make this repeat. The cool thing about this is I can come on here and say, okay, let's say I did these 2 things, but I missed the first one. I'll just subtract those out. I'll update it, and then it just gets moved to my to-do list for the next day. So this is a rolling to-do list that you can make with Google Calendar. Really, that's all we have on a regular basis. The main couple takeaways, if you're trying to build a schedule for yourself, I'll go ahead and I'll put this on the notes doc here. Main takeaways. Number 1, take calls 2 days a week and only afternoon. Number 2, deep work every day, 2-3 hours a day. Number 3, build schedules the day of, have the components of a good day, and organize them. Cool. Really off the cuff video here, and not the most interesting one, but this is helpful if you're trying to scale and you need to make sure that you're allocating your most valuable resource, your time, effectively. So if you need help scaling, send me a DM on Instagram. I work one-on-one with my clients to help them start and scale marketing agencies. So send me a message. I'll chat with you and see if it's a fit, and I'll see you in the next one.